Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Just going to do a quick highlight here. Greg Dwyer has been seen by over 6 million people on The Late Show with David Letterman and has worked backstage for Doug Henning's The Magic Show. He is here tonight, not to trick you, but to help you focus on what is important to you. Please give a warm welcome to Greg Dwyer.
Distraction is a big problem, a real big problem. People pick up their phones every single day and they tap them and they swipe them and they click them over 2,600 times every single day. On average, when people go to work, in a week, people waste 12 and a half hours on the job because they're picking up their phones, they're tapping, they're swiping, and they're clicking, and they're not engaged at work. Distraction is a big, big problem. 400,000 people every single year just in America get hurt behind the wheel because they look down at their phone or they are distracted at the wrong time. And sadly, 4,000 people die every single year because they tapped at the wrong time behind the wheel. Distraction's a big problem. In business, $650 billion is wasted every single year just in America because people go to work and they really don't care and they are distracted. The question I have for you tonight is this. What is distraction costing you in your life? Now, I don't want you to be distracted, so at the end of this lecture, you can ask me for the notes. I have prepared a beautiful PDF file for you. I have nothing to sell you. All of the information, all of the details, all of what I'm going to talk about tonight will be available to you. All you have to do is go to gregdwyer.com. Don't go there now because I don't want you to be distracted. But you'll send me an email and then I'll send you all of my notes. Now, when I first started thinking about this, I really thought that the answer to distraction was discipline and willpower. And the reason why is because I read all the books. I studied this information going back 10 years. And everyone said the same thing. All you have to do is be really disciplined. All you have to do is use your willpower and you'll be able to focus. The problem with that is it sets people up to fail because eventually they get distracted and they quit. Now, discipline's good and willpower, it's good as well, but it's like lighter fluid. It doesn't last. So what I'm going to share with you tonight, and here's my promise to you. What I'm going to share with you tonight before 8 o'clock is what works 100% of the time. Now, I do a lot of work for corporations and businesses and sales teams, and a lot of times they think the carrot and the stick is the answer. Well, what I'm about to share with you tonight is the answer, and it works guaranteed 100% of the time. And it is very simple. So this is what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to play full out. I'd like you to shut down Facebook, social media, email, any distractions, and I want you to focus on this lecture, and I want you to participate even though everybody's muted, and at the very end we'll open up for questions, so save your questions for the end. So what I'd like you to do is participate by taking your hand and closing it like a fist, and then bring one finger up just like this. Did you do it? Okay, let's start over. That's your thumb. It's not your finger. This is your finger. It's easy to get distracted. So now I'd like you to take your fingers and your thumb and make a circle. Like a circle, you see the circle here? So you should have a circle between the fingers and your thumb. And take that circle and put it right on your chin, just like this. Now, if you put it here, you must realize that that's not your chin. This is your chin. It's so easy to get distracted. Now, when I do this, when I'm on Zoom or in person, inevitably, there are people that have different reactions. Everyone has a different reaction. There's some people that are really, really analytical. And they're like, I know this is not my chin. These are people that are very detailed oriented. They love to take things apart. They're very serious. They want to be right. They don't tend to put things back together. How many of you can relate to that, or how many of you know people that are like that? They always want to be right, very analytical, and very detailed. Raise your hand. So we have other types of people, and they just want to have fun. They came here to learn something, but you know, when they do this in a live audience, they start laughing. They realize they got it wrong, but they're just here to have fun, and to have fun, and life is fun, and they don't really take it seriously at all. They're the life of the party. Maybe that's you. How many can relate? How many of you know people like that? There's other people that are very empathetic. They wear their emotions on their sleeve, their heart on their sleeve, and they feel bad. They feel bad that they got it wrong, but they also feel bad that other people got it wrong. How many of you can relate to that as well? And then there's other people that are very much like a leader, very much. They're like, why are we doing this? I came here to learn about focus. I want to help my sales team. I want to help myself. I want to be really focused. Why are we playing these stupid games? These are people that maybe they put it here, but then they put it here when no one was looking. How many of you can relate to this? Or you know people like this. They're like alpha. They have an alpha personality, whether a man or a woman, and they're a leadership type, and they're like, this is stupid. Why are we doing this? How many of you can relate to that as well? You know people like that. How many of you wouldn't raise your hand no matter what I asked, right? There's always people like that. So here's what I want you to do, and I really want you to play along, because the more you play along, the more you're going to really learn this. So I want you to think about what you want. I know a little bit about you, but I want you to think about what you want. What is it that is important to you? And I want you to think about it, and I want you to reflect on it. So by reflecting on it, make a circle like this, a globe or a circle, and I want you to use your imagination as you reflect. So you're going to reflect, and in the process of reflecting on what you want, so in your mind, create an image of what you want, and then imagine it's in this circle or in this globe. And then you're going to bring it closer and closer and closer and closer and closer and closer and closer together. And while you're bringing your hands and your fingers together, you are imagining, using visualization, that what you want you actually have. Okay, so you want to bring your hands together like this. Now, what's interesting is if your right thumb is over the left, it's a good indication that you're going to get what you want, like 97%. If the left is over the right, I have some bad news for you. Probably not going to get what you want, but you're good looking and it doesn't really matter. All right, let's do it again. That was just a joke, but let's do it again. But this time I want you to think about what you want and bring it together, but switch the thumbs. So if the right was over the left, switch it, and vice versa. So you're going to do something different, right? So think about what you want. Get really serious. What is it that you really, truly want? And then bring your fingers together, 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 together. Now switch the thumbs so that you're doing it different. Now, this is not a joke, and this is 100% serious. If this feels different, and it probably does, that means that what you want and how to get it is going to be different. You're going to have to get outside your comfort zone. You might have to do something that you haven't done before. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Take your hands like this, thumbs facing up, left hand, right hand. And if you can do this, right, take your left arm and bring it over the right, just like this. And then what I'd like you to do is bring your hands down like this, and then grab a hold of it really tight. Now, if you're doing it correctly, your pinkies are at the top. Take a look at your pinkies, and the thumbs are here at the bottom. Now, you don't know at this point which thumb is over the other, so the way you're going to find out is do exactly what I'm doing. And now do this. So, I want to share with you how I did that. Now, if I was a magician, I wouldn't tell you, but I'm not a magician anymore. But if you go to Vegas and you spend $100 or $150 to see David Copperfield in Vegas, That's how he opens his show. He just simply puts his hands together and he does what I just showed you. I'm going to teach you how I did it, but you have to please promise not to tell other people. Now you can show people if you want, but don't tell them how the secret is done. So it's pretty simple. What I did is I asked you to take your two hands, your thumbs facing up just like this. I asked you to cross like this, the left over the right, and then to bring your fingers together like this. And then I said, take a look at the pinkies and then take a look at the thumbs. And at that point, I asked you to look at the thumbs and I let go of my hands. Now, because you've never seen this before, you really couldn't track me. You couldn't follow me because there's just too much information. And then I brought my hands together like this and then brought them up like that. Here's the point of all of this. It is so easy to get distracted. You know it yourself. You sit down, you're working on a task, and all of a sudden you find yourself distracted. Why? Because it is easy to be distracted. So let me show you one more time, but I want you to focus when I touch my fingers like this. Okay, so I'm going to teach you something. I want you to focus in when I let go. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the point of contact when I release the contact, if that makes any sense. All right, so if you want to play along with me, you can, or you can just simply watch. Left, left over right. And then you bring your hands over like this. Now, this point, I said, look at your pinkies. Look at your pinkies. I said they're at the top. And then at this point, I made a reference to the thumbs. And at that point, I let go. But I don't have to, because I already did. That's distraction. So this raises the question, what about multitasking? What about multitasking? Can I do two things at the same time? Yes, yes. I often will cook dinner, do the laundry, and I'm on the phone at the same time. But all of the research tells us that multitasking is an illusion. We're really not good at it. Now, can we cook a meal? Yeah. Can we do the laundry, talk on the phone? Yeah, sure, we can do it. But be careful, driving a car and looking down at the wrong time, that's not a good time to do multitasking. 400,000 people get hurt every year. 4,000 people die every year. So here's what I know. I've researched this, and it's in my notes at gregdwyer.com. Send me an email, and I'll show it with you so you can have it for tomorrow, is this. If what you are doing is really, truly important to you, you shouldn't be focusing on other things. For instance, if I was in a room with everybody here and I was talking to Peggy and I was having a conversation with Peggy or with Mel or with anybody or anybody out here in the audience on Zoom today, I only can focus on you if I want to make you the most important thing in my life. If I'm talking to Mel or I'm talking to Fran or I'm talking to my friend Chris and I'm looking down at my watch or I'm looking at the clock or I'm looking over here or there, it gives a message that you're not important. So when I do sales training and I do a lot of work in corporations for customer service, as far as sales and marketing, it's all about being present. It's about being in the moment so that you're giving the person that you're talking to all of your attention. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If you're sitting down, this would be perfect. Take your right foot and put it in a clock position, like 7 o'clock. We're going to move your right foot, or I should say you're going to do it because I'm not going to sit down. You're going to move your foot clockwise. So put it at 7, then bring it up to 12, and then move it around in a circle. And as I'm talking to you, move your right foot. Remember, I mentioned that this is about participation because you really only get this as you participate. So as you're moving your foot from 7 up to 12, you're moving it clockwise in a circle. At the same time, hold your finger up like this and then move your finger counterclockwise, which is the opposite of the way your foot is going. I've done this for years. Very few people can do that. Now, why is that so? Because here, we are limited. We're limited. I'm limited. You're limited. There was a guy by the name of George Miller that wrote a paper many years ago called The Magical Number of 7. magical number of 7. And what he said was billions and billions of information is coming at us, but we can't take it in. We take in about 7 bits of information, give or take a couple, and that's it. There's just too many things going on in the world, and we tend to focus just on a few things because we can't focus on everything. If you go on the internet and you type in monkey business illusion, you'll see something that was done on the internet where they had 2 teams passing the basketball, and they asked you to count the passes of the one team, and you were to focus on that. And then they said, hey, how many passes? And the answer was 16. But then they said, did you see the gorilla? So this is what happened. While you're counting the passes, this guy in a gorilla suit comes out and goes like this, beats his chest, and walks off the stage. And 50% of the people that watched the video didn't even see the gorilla. Now, I don't have a gorilla, but it would be like this. What if I told you right now, look for 7 things in the room that are red. Look around your room where you are. Now, there's a flag over there. You can't see it, but maybe you have a flag in your house. I don't know. Maybe you're wearing something red. Well, this is red, right? So 7 things that are red. And then if I said to you 7 things that were blue, well, that's another 7 things. And then if I said 7 things that were red and then another 7 things that were blue, you would be overwhelmed. You couldn't keep track. And remember what George Miller said, billions and billions of information is coming at us and we can't keep it all in our head. It's impossible. That's the reason why distraction is so easy. So they brought people back to watch the monkey business illusion, and they said, this time look for the monkey, look for the gorilla, focus on the gorilla. So they passed the basketball, people counted, but they looked for the gorilla. And they said, how many of you saw the gorilla? And they said, oh, we all did. 50% saw it, didn't see it, but now every single person in the room that watched the video the second time saw the gorilla. And then they said, did you notice that the curtain changed color? It was red, now it was orange. And then one person walked off the team. Did you notice that? And people said, no, they didn't. Why? Because too much information leads to overwhelm. Do you know people who have been overwhelmed in the last couple years? Just too much information coming at them. They feel anxiety, they feel stressed. Kind of reminds me of a story. Years ago, I went to the Middle East for the very first time, and my tour guide said to me, Greg, you look a little anxious. Is everything okay? And I said, well, there's just too much information, culture shock. And he said, be careful of the tricksters. And I said, who are the tricksters? He said, they are the pickpockets. I said, what? He goes, yeah. He says, if they don't succeed, they don't eat tonight. I said, wow, they're like the magicians. He said, no, they're better than the magicians. They really have to succeed, and they work in teams. So a few years later, I was leading a tour in the Middle East. I was the tour guide. And I was working with my friend. We were working together on this because I've traveled all over the world. I've taken people to different retreats in Ireland and Germany and Greece, all over the world, all over Europe. And when we were in Bethlehem one year, we came out of a shop. It was a store for souvenirs. And as we were walking towards the bus, there were about 7 people hanging around our bus trying to sell us things. And eventually one guy walks out who's with my group, and he doesn't get on the bus. And they circle around him and they try to sell him postcards. They try to sell him a flute. They try to sell him scarves. All of these things they tried to sell him. And I said to him, would you please get on the bus? And he wouldn't listen to me. Now, I've been to Israel about 10 times. I know the routine. I've done it in my sleep. I've been to France. I've been to Spain. I've been all over. And I know how dangerous pickpockets can be. So for me, I really wanted him to get on the bus. He wouldn't listen to me. No amount of my will was going to change his will. It just didn't work. So eventually he gets on the bus. That night at dinner, he comes up to me and he opens up his wallet, and all of his money is gone. All of it. So what happened was, while he was making change and buying a flute for $1, people were able to take his money because they were able to distract him pretty easily. That's what distraction is. And distraction can be very, very costly. But I thought about this for years. I said, how come he didn't listen to me? How come discipline didn't work? How come willpower didn't work? And then it dawned on me as I started researching this and studying this. There are invisible patterns that work for us or against us. And in this case, they were working against this guy. And they are beliefs and values. Beliefs and values. Think of a triangle. In fact, let me show you a triangle over here. I think you can see this. At the top of the triangle, here's a triangle right here, and if you can't see it, just imagine a triangle. At the top of the triangle, in his mind, in his hierarchy, was this flute for $1. He was thinking to himself, I got to get this flute. I have to have this flute. It's the most important thing to me. Now, I'm like 20 years younger than this guy. I'm a guide. I've been to Israel many times. I've been to the Middle East. I've been all over Europe. He wasn't going to listen to me. Why? Because of beliefs and values. So the thing that he valued the most was not his safety, not getting on the bus, but the flute for $1. So if you think of a triangle, at the very top of the triangle was what he thought was important to him. The other thing that was working against him were his thoughts, his words that he said to himself, and his actions, which are beliefs. So I'm going to illustrate this by 3 letters. T, W, A. So here's the T, goes in the middle. That's thoughts. The next thing is words. It's what he was saying to himself. And then finally, actions. So every belief has consequences, every single one of them. And our beliefs are made up of our values, how we think, what we say to ourselves, and the actions that we take. A couple years ago, I came across this reality, which really shocked me. And I think if you've never heard this before, what I'm about to say to you tonight is going to shock you. Here it is. People who study this say we have 45 to 65,000 thoughts every single day. So, today is Thursday. We're in summer. It's 2022. It's June, right? Today, on average, you, even though I don't know you, or maybe I do, you had 45 to 65,000 thoughts today. Tomorrow is Friday. Now, I can tell you what most people going to work are thinking. Thank goodness it's Friday, right? It's pretty easy. People can't wait for the weekend. But we have 45 to 65,000 thoughts every single day. Now, this is what's really shocking. 90% of our thoughts are repeated the next day. So, here I am sharing this lecture. You're listening to me. You went about your day. Tomorrow, maybe you'll look at my notes that I'm going to send you, or you'll watch this video if you want me to send it to you as well. But nevertheless, we are creatures of habit. So this gentleman who wouldn't get on the bus, what he valued and his thinking, his words, and his actions, invisible patterns were running the show for him. And I'll tell you something. No amount of willpower or discipline, or if you work in corporate America, the carrot and the stick is able to move somebody like that. We're conditioned, but we're conditioned by our own thoughts, It kind of reminds me, I don't know if you've ever seen this movie, but it reminds me of a movie called Groundhog Day, and I love this movie. I watch it, in fact, I have it upstairs. I watch it every February. The gentleman's name is Bill Murray. He plays Phil. He's a weatherman. Now, for Phil, the most important thing for him is himself. It's him. It's all about Phil. And his thoughts and his words and his actions, everything is about Phil. Me, 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 me. If you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. So he goes to Puxatawny. It's Groundhog Day. The alarm goes off. It's Sonny and Cher. I got you, babe. I won't sing it for you, but You know the song. So the song goes off, and then rise and shine, campers, and don't forget your booties because it's cold outside. It's Groundhog Day. So he rolls out of bed, walks over to the window, looks out the window to Nobbler's Hill as everybody's going to see the groundhog. That's the first thing that happens. Then the next day, the alarm goes off. It's Sonny and Cher again. I got you, babe. Rise and shine, campers, and don't forget your booties because it's cold outside. It's Groundhog Day. And he gets up and he goes, they're playing yesterday's track. What he doesn't realize is he is playing yesterday's track. And then the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, day after day after day, he's repeating the same day. And he tries willpower and nothing happens. He tries discipline and nothing happens. It doesn't work for him. So you're probably listening to this, and maybe if you've never heard it before and you're thinking about the movie that I just described to you, you're probably thinking about your own life, aren't you? You know, it's the people that you talk to all the time. It's the same people over and over again, isn't it? And the places that you drive, and the places you go, and the clothes that you wear, and the things that you say, and the people you associate with. It's Groundhog Day. It's 45 to 65,000 thoughts every single day, and 90% of them are the same. Why do we do this? Why do I do it? Why do you do it? We do it because we want to be secure. We do it because we want to be comfortable. And so we repeat patterns over and over and over again. But at the same time, we want something different, but we don't get it. So I want you to think of a number between 1 and 10. Not 3. Everybody thinks of 3. Think of a number. I'm sending it to you right now in real time. Many of you thought of the number 7. Oh, why? Well, I started talking about 7, the magical number of 7, with George Miller. I told you to put your foot in the position of 7 as you brought your foot around. I talked about the 7 people that were in Bethlehem who circled around the person to steal their money. This lecture has been brought to you by the number 7 because it's been in the lecture. I've conditioned it inside the lecture. Now I'm sending you a color. Actually, let me send you 2 colors. The first one is red and the other one is blue. Well, we've talked about blue and red. It's been in the lecture, and most people, if you just ask them on the street tomorrow, think of a color, they're going to think of blue or red anyway, but I've talked about blue and red. Now I want you to think of 2 different simple geometric shapes, not like a square, but one inside the other. How many of you thought of a circle or a triangle? Well, most of you. Because it's inside of the lecture. For the last half an hour that I've been speaking, I have purposely brought the color red and blue and the number 7 and these symbols into the lecture so that you would think of them. Now, I didn't do it to trick you. I just showed you how easy it is not only to be distracted, but also to be conditioned. I started as a magician back in the 70s. I was only 10 years old. I fell in love with magic. And from 4th grade all the way up to high school, I wanted to be a professional magician. And I was in the tri-state area, Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, even New Jersey. I traveled around even before I could drive a car. My parents would drive me, and I would do magic shows. And magic was my life. It's what I thought about. I worked backstage for Doug Henning. I loved magic. But then my life took a different career move. In the 80s, I decided to study philosophy and theology and to get a couple master degrees and to go off on a different direction. But I never lost sight of the love of magic. But then it dawned on me. What if I could be a guide for people? What if I could help people and show them how easily they're being distracted so that they could be focused on what they really want? What if I could show them how magicians and con people distract them so that they can focus on what they really love and be able to do it? So that's the reason why I put together this lecture. So what I'm going to share with you right now is really simple. And it really is 3 words. And those 3 words are the key to focus. And this is what I've been waiting for the last half an hour to share with you. And the 3 words are these: importance, directs focus. Importance directs focus. Most people think it's willpower. Most people think it's discipline, or in corporate work, managers think it's the carrot and the stick. That doesn't work anymore. I mean, sometimes it works. But here is what works 100% of the time, guaranteed. Importance directs focus. So let me illustrate. Right now, wherever you are, if you all of a sudden smelled smoke and felt heat on your back and heard the fire alarm or the fire trucks, you would say, Greg, you're a really nice guy, but I got to get out of here because this thing is more important. The house is on fire. The room is on fire. There's an emergency. Or if someone just called you right now and said, you got to get here, Dad's having problems, you would leave this Zoom meeting. Why? Because importance directs focus 100% of the time. So here's my simple magical formula, my framework. I call it the Diamond Mind framework that I want to share with you, and that's this. Number one, you have to discover or identify what is important to you. And that's why I opened the lecture tonight and said, hey, what's important to you? Why are you here? So you have to think about, hey, what is really, truly, truly important to me? Like maybe you say, that's overwhelming. How do I know? You know, most people don't know. Most people, if you ask them what's important to you, a lot of people go, I don't know. Like, I don't know. What's supposed to be important? I guess, you know. It's like asking people, hey, how's your day? Great, my day's okay. Everybody's on autopilot, you know. Number one, you got to know what's important. So you could break it down. What's important for tonight? What's important for tomorrow? What's important for the weekend? What's important for this summer? You know, we're going into July soon, right? So that means we got 6 more months and then we're into the next year. Think about that. What do you want to accomplish in the next 6 months in your professional life or in your personal life? What's important? What's important now? Most people don't know. If you just tackle that one thing, you're ahead of most people. Number two, you've got to make it a habit. So let me explain. I used to do a lot of traveling all over the world. And number one, when I would travel, I wouldn't take a lot of things with me. But the one thing I took with me, which was most important, was my passport. Most important thing, my passport. Not the flute, in the case of the story of the guy that bought the flute for the $1. But in my case, my passport was the number one important thing that I was carrying with me. I mean, I had money and I had credit cards and I had a phone, but really it was the passport that was the most important thing. And I saw people carrying their passport one day in the back pocket, one day they left it in the safe, the next day they put it in the suitcase, and they drove themselves crazy because they couldn't figure out where they put it. Because too many things were going on during the day. You know, think about it. When you go on a retreat, you're away from your environment. You're away from your habits, and so everything is new. So I discovered that if this was important, my passport, I had to place it in the same place every single day. So that's what I did. I never, ever had to think about it. And lastly, I kept it a secret. Now, I got to tell you, I have traveled for the last 10 years internationally, speaking all over the world. I've never had anybody steal anything from me. I've gotten off buses in Rome where people have put their hand in my back pocket. I've been in places where people bumped up against me. I actually had a guy hug me one time, complete stranger, because they wanted to see where my wallet was. A lot of times they'll drop a wallet on the ground and pick it up and say, sir, ma'am, is this yours? And then you'll reach for your wallet and then they'll know where you put your wallet. So what I got really clear about were these 3 things. I had to identify what was important, I had to keep it a habit, and I made it a secret. That's the secret. And it's also the secret to life in general, not just travel, because travel, if you think about it, is somewhat of a metaphor for life. So here's the secret that I want to share with you, which is below the triangle. And that's this here. I hope you can see it. Think of a triangle and then think of another triangle below it. If you put them both together, you have a diamond. So I can't share the secret with you because it's a secret. but I will tell you a story. And in the process of telling you the story, you'll probably figure out what the secret is. So I graduated 81 from New Fairfield, Connecticut. I was focused on magic all of my high school years, and one of my idols was Eric Weiss. His name is Harry Houdini. You probably know who he is. I love this guy. So every Halloween, he died on Halloween, 1926 at 1:26 in the afternoon, I'd be in school and look at the clock and say, you know, this is the time that he died. I actually been to his gravesite in New York. That's how much a fan I was of this guy. But Harry Houdini had a different way of thinking from the masses. And that's what I'm offering you tonight, to think differently. So at the height of his career, this is a true story, at the height of his career, he was in London. And they asked him, we want to bring a safe from the bank on stage and have you escape from it. Will you do it? So he reflected on it and he decided to do it. In his mind, it was the most important thing that he would do that night. Now think about it. He didn't say to his wife, well, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I'm going to dabble. We'll see what happens. We'll see what tomorrow brings. Harry knew what was important. He was going to be in front of 500 people. They were going to bring a safe. This was the height of his career. If he failed, his career could be over. So he knew what was important. What was important? He had to get out of the safe. He had to get out of the safe. Now, Harry had a saying that he said over and over and over and over and over again, and that was this: my brain is the key that sets me free. Harry would say this, and what he meant by this is that he had no supernatural powers at all, that he just simply thought differently, but he made it a habit. And then lastly, he kept it a secret. How he did it. I mean, if he told everybody, then people wouldn't go and watch him. So I want you to reflect on this just for a moment. I'm just looking at the time. We've got about 20 minutes left. So we got about a few minutes just to reflect on this. Take a deep breath in through your nose and then exhale. And then take another breath in through your nose and exhale, and just relax for a minute as you're listening to my voice. Now imagine you're walking into the theater. You're sitting down. And the curtain opens up and there's a safe, and there's Harry Houdini. And he gets into the safe, the door is closed, the curtain is brought around the safe, and I don't know how long it took him. I don't know if it was moments. It could have been hours, believe it or not. Because back in those days, people didn't have cell phones. They didn't have television. They didn't have internet. They would literally sit in a theater for an hour to see somebody get out of a safe. Can you believe that? That's how it was 100 years ago. So eventually he gets out. So here's the question I have for you, and I want you to reflect on this. How did Harry Houdini get out of the safe? How did he do it? Go inside and reflect and ask yourself the question, how did he do it? Now, I've been traveling the last year after COVID, bringing this story to many people. I haven't had one person raise their hand with the answer. No one. Absolutely none. But maybe tonight you have the answer. Now, don't Google it. Stay focused. So how did Harry Houdini escape from the safe? Reflect on it just for a moment. Imagine he gets in the safe and then he gets out. Now, the safe was locked, by the way. Yep. Okay, so here's the answer. The answer is the question of how is a question of distraction. Because how is not the question. The question is what. The question is what, not how. A lot of times people think, how am I going to do this? How am I going to be a millionaire? How am I going to get what I want? Oh, I don't know if I can do it. I don't think I can. And then they quit. They try willpower and they try discipline, but they focus on the how, and it doesn't work for them. And they're back to where they were before. They're distracted. The answer is what? What is a safe made for? Think about this. I want you to reflect on this. A safe is made to keep people out, not in. Harry Houdini thought differently. My brain is the key that sets me free. My mind is the key that sets me free. 99%, maybe 100% of the people in the audience were going, how did he do that? Harry was thinking differently. What? is a safe for. A safe is to keep people out, not in. Here's another secret. Harry had the safe delivered to him 24 hours before anybody came to the audience. So he had the chance to reflect. He had the chance to contemplate, to go inside the safe, and actually to make a small little key so that he could escape from the inside out. He liberated himself by going inside, and then he made his escape. So, let me hand you the key that you already hold in your hand. It's reflection. And you already do it. Like if you've ever daydreamed, you know what I'm talking about. This is my secret. And my secret is this. This is not a diamond. This is not a diamond. This is simply a triangle. And the bottom part is a reflection of what's above. So what is above is reflected from below. Let me show you what that looks like. The T turns into an I. So this bottom half is reflective of what's above it, which is thoughts, words, and actions. This is the key that will help you stay focused on what's important to you the most. Importance directs focus 100% of the time. But what is needed is reflection. And in our world today, most people are distracted. They're going in 100 different directions. I'm not saying you have to join a monastery. I'm not saying you have to join a religious order. I'm saying if you could just reflect on your thoughts and your words and your actions, and that would help you get what you want, would you spend a minute a day doing it? Would you spend a couple minutes a day doing it? Would you make it a habit of reflecting on your thoughts, words, and deeds? This is something a dog can't do. This is something a cat cannot do. This is something an elephant cannot do. They can't do it. As human beings, we have the ability to actually reflect on our own thoughts. You know, have you ever said to yourself, I wonder what I was doing, or I was wondering what I was thinking? What am I, who's saying that? It's like you're standing outside examining yourself and your thoughts, words, and actions. So that's what I'm talking about. It's reflection. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I want you to think about something that's really, truly important to you, right? So it's what you want. And take your hands like this, and bring your hands together like this, and bring your two index fingers out like this. Now imagine that what you want is in the middle of those two fingers, and they're coming closer and 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 closer, and then finally coming together. Did that work for you like it worked for me? So what we're doing there is we're simply reflecting and using our imagination and visualization, thinking about what we want, and our fingers came together. That's what I'm talking about. So there's another illustration, and I do this a lot when I'm on stage and I get a participant from the audience. And what I'd like is I'm going to ask for some participation in the chat. So get ready in the chat. I'm going to ask a question, and I would love the feedback in the chat. Maybe Mel can tell me what the feedback is, because I'm not going to look at the chat. I'm going to stay exactly where I am right here. So this is a pocket watch, and this is not a trick. There's no magnet, there's no string, there's nothing like that. However, this is a wonderful, wonderful metaphor for how we align our thoughts, words, and actions. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If I were to hold the watch like this, and hopefully you can all see it, and I just simply say to myself, circle, it tends to move in a circle. Now, I'm doing it. It's not it's not a miracle. Actually, if I were to do this, it's a miracle. Think about it. That's a miracle because I'm thinking about it and I'm doing it. But this is micro movements. I'm just thinking of a circle. That's all I'm doing. And when I'm on stage, I bring someone up on stage and I give them a watch and we do this together. It's really fun. In fact, I was in Fairfield County the other night and we had a person by the name of Karen up. She had a watch, I had a watch, and I asked her to say circle in her head, circle, 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 and guess what happened? My watch was going around in a circle, and apparently she was influenced by me and also her own watch and her own thoughts. I can also say back and forth. You know, I could hold the watch like this, really high up, and I could say back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and the watch will move back and forth. And it's not a miracle. It's just my thoughts, words, and actions. This is a little bit of reflection. I'm not saying you need to get a pocket watch and do this every day, but can you imagine what it would be like if you reflected, maybe it's just 5 minutes a day or 3 minutes a day on what you wanted and it came true. So Mel, I want to ask somebody for a number between 1 and 12. The first person that types in a number, I'm going to try to move the watch that many times. So Mel, if you can ask everybody to put just the first person that puts a number in, and if you can tell me, Mel, what that number is, that would be wonderful.
Okay, still waiting.
All right, why don't you give me a number, Mel, because I don't want to wait.
Okay, 8.
Excellent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can get the watch to move back and forth. Let me see. Let me just move a little closer. And why don't you count this with me? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm simply thinking of the number 8 because she gave me the number 8. She gave me the number 8. Mel, did we work this out? Did you say 8 before the lecture? Did we say anything about this?
No.
No. So all she said was 8, and she was able to influence my thoughts, my words, and my actions, and we saw it move. Now watch this, Mel. It's interesting because what I've learned, this is the true magic, is if you really, truly focus on what's important, because importance directs focus, and you align your thoughts, words, and actions towards it, you start to see what you're looking for. And I don't know if you can see this, Mel, but what time does the clock say?
It says 8 o'clock.
It says 8 o'clock, and this is a regular clock that I use all the time. So that's the miracle of focus. So I want to do a demo in a minute, but I need somebody besides Mel. So I don't know how many people are watching, but it would be great if we could get a person to help us, because this is going to be profound. If not, Mel, you'll have to volunteer. But this is what I learned, and that is this. You have to get your beliefs and your values aligned. And what I mean by that is this. Here's my demonstration. I'm going to go first, and then I'm going to demonstrate this with somebody. One of my goals is to write a book, because I believe that by writing a book, I will advance my career. I'll be on Amazon. I'll tell, different organizations that I've written a book. I can come out and speak. Everybody in the audience will get a copy of my book. I could do book signings. So I believe that a book, what I value, is important to me, right? However, if my thoughts, my words, and my actions do not support that, it's not going to happen. So, if I say to myself, yeah, who am I? I don't know if I could write a book. Besides, everybody's heard about distraction. It's very popular right now. Who needs another book about this? So I say these things to myself, and then I don't take action. So this is the reason why people buy a course online and they don't finish it. This is the reason why people buy a book and they don't read it. They don't even get past chapter 1, and they don't implement it. Why? Because they say they want certain things, but they don't have the alignment of their beliefs. So what has to change is your thoughts, words, and actions. The purpose for casting a vision or casting a desire is to change yourself. And by changing your thoughts, words, and actions, because let's face it, what you get in life isn't really going to make you satisfied anyway. It's really who you become. It's growing. And so it's your thoughts, words, and actions that will do that. So what I did is I designed a pack of cards. This is an ordinary pack of cards. There are 52 cards, but I call it the focus deck. And by the way, they're not for sale, so don't get nervous. But there's 52 cards, and there's something really special about these cards. Every card has an affirmation on the cards. So 52 cards, there's 52 weeks in a year, so you could use one card per day if you wanted, or one card per week, I should say. So here's what I do, and I'm telling you my habit. I figure if I have 45 to 65,000 thoughts every single day and 90% of them are the same, and like TWA, they're taking me on autopilot in a certain direction, I want to have a say towards where I'm going to go. So every day I look at these cards. Every day I look at the affirmations. Like this one says, be a visionary, be unique. This one says, you're born to win. So what this is a form of brainwashing. It's a form of affirmations to change thoughts, words, and actions, and time to reflect on it. So in a minute, I'm going to ask for a volunteer. You don't have to open up your video. Maybe you just open up the mic. But do we have a volunteer, anybody that would be willing to help us? And I will tell you, I will not embarrass you. You have to trust me, and you will learn something here, and it could be life-changing. So, do we have anybody that would like to volunteer, Mel, or what's the status on this? What do you think?
Somebody raised their hand. Was that you, Peggy? Oh no, that was Chris.
That is Chris. Okay, great. Chris, can you open his mic, perhaps?
Sure. Chris, can you unmute yourself?
I think you go down to the bottom. I think that's what you do to unmute it.
No, I have to ask him to unmute.
I mean him. Yeah, did he do it?
Yes. He said unfortunately not. He can't unmute himself. Peggy, do you want to take this one?
Sure. Yeah.
Hi,
sure.
Peggy. How you doing?
Good. I don't know how I'll be in this, but we'll see.
Oh, this will be fun. So, in the story that I told about Phil, it was all about him. Me. It was all about him. In the West, the focus tends to be on getting things done. And so what I did is I drew a triangle and I put the W at the top of the triangle. In the East, the focus tends to be on reflection. So if you're thinking about a triangle above, the letter W is at the top and the letter E is below, which stands for we, right? We. So once you figure out what's important to you, you really don't want to stay there. You want to focus on other people. And the reason why people can't do this is because they're so focused on themselves. They're like Phil in the movie. And so they miss opportunities to really connect with people. In the last couple of years, people have been dying to connect with people and to make real conversations with people. And it's causing a lot of anxiety. So we is better than me. And when you talk to people, what I've learned is this is not rocket science. There's two things that everybody wants, just two things. Everybody that's listening to my voice, everybody just wants two things. Number one, they want to survive. And number two, they want to strive or thrive or be better. And there's certain things that people think will bring happiness to them. And so I'm going to draw 5 symbols and I'm going to explain them. And Peggy, you maybe you can take some notes because I'm going to ask for a quiz in a few moments. So I have.
That's what I'm doing. I'm taking a lot of notes, but if I can read them.
Okay, so just make a circle, Peggy. So I don't know if you can see the circle, but I made a circle there. So just make a circle, And the circle represents health. And Peggy, I'm not going to ask you to tell me, I'm not going to ask you to say what is important to you. I want to guess it. Okay, so we've never met, we've talked on the phone. I have not done any research on you, so I haven't spied on you or looked at Facebook. All I can say is I'm going to take a guess based on our conversation tonight. But I want you to keep this a secret. So the circle represents health. People are concerned about health one time in their life. You know, they say the person that's really healthy has 100 goals. The person that is not healthy only has one goal. The next one is a cross or an X. You see that, Peggy? That X or that cross stands for relationships. It's people at work, it's husbands and wives, it's children, it's family, it's friends, it's wanting better relationships, okay? So that stands for relationships. The next one are 3 lines that are wavy lines. They're just 3 wavy lines that have to do with currency. I think of water. Every time I see this, I think of water. So this is what money can buy. This is what money is. This is currency. I want to make more money. I want to buy travel. I want to go to Ireland. I want to get a new car. I want to get a new raise. So here we've covered 3 things, Peggy: health, relationships, and currency or money. And then the next one is emotions, and it's a square. So I got a square. By the way, these are ESP symbols. These are symbols that are more important, I think, than words because they communicate on a very deep level. So the square represents emotion. It's your foundational home, what's familiar to you, what you go back to. Could be anger, could be joy, could be love. This is emotional health. You can have all the money in the world, but if you're not happy emotionally, it's kind of sad. So, and then the last one is a star. So I have 5 symbols. The last one, the star, represents career. It's, you know, getting to the next level. It's going to a certain place as far as your passion is concerned. So Peggy, I want you to think about this. And as you're thinking about this, I am going to see if I can get a feeling of what's important to you. Can you think of one of these things, Peggy, yes or no? Yes. Okay, good. So Peggy, I want to make sure I got your name right. And I'm sure I do because I've seen it in emails. It's something I'm going to write down right here. So it's P, right?
Yes.
E, G, G-Y?
That's correct.
Okay. So this is made for you. This is made for you. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So you have the symbols in front of you. Let me just go over them with you in a quick fashion. The circle represents health. The crosshairs or the X represents relationships. The wavy lines, currency. The square, emotional, happiness, anything that has to do with that. And then finally, the star is your passion, your North Star. Peggy, just because we've talked on the phone and we're talking now, I'm just getting a feeling, and this is what I'm going to write down. I'm going to draw it right here below your name. And I'm just going to ask you to be honest. And I'll be honest with you. Did you, now you thought of one of them, right? One of them, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Peggy, did you think of the circle? Yes or no?
No.
I didn't think so. The next one is the cross, which is relationships. Is that on your mind?
No.
Okay. So far we're on the same page. We're doing really well. The next one is currency, the money. Is that what's on your mind?
No.
Good for you, because money isn't everything. A lot of people, what about this one?
That was the...
Square, the emotions.
No, that wasn't either.
So we know that you were thinking of the star.
That's right, it was.
Right, which is career, and you're not going to believe this. Look what I wrote.
It was, oh, yeah. I can't see what. Oh, yeah. Okay.
There it is. And I'm going
Thank you,
to,
sir. Yeah.
I am going to,
Well, I've been around a long time, too.
I am going to put it
Bill can
right,
attest.
I am going to put it right there. So Peggy, I'm looking at the time. It looks as though it's 7 o'clock. So I'm going to ask Mel to mute everybody, including Peggy, and then I'm going to share one more thing. First of all, I want to thank you all, and I want to offer you my notes. So my notes are at gregdwyer.com. So all you have to do is go to Greg Dwyer, that's GregDwyer.com, and send me an email. My email's at the bottom. Tell me that you were at this lecture tonight, and I will send you all of my notes. So what I have here is I have my notes here. Right here it says Greg, and it says email me for information. And on this notepad, I have the number between 1 and 20. And I have different words on every single page. Every single page is different. Mel, give me a number between 1 and 20. Not 1, because 1 is right here. And
okay.
What would the number be?
14.
That's my favorite number. That's been my favorite number for years. So I want to show you that if you said 2, the word would be distraction. If you said number 5, it would be discipline. I'm going up to 9. That's patterns. We talked a lot about patterns. And then 11 is red. Okay, so I'm at 12, which is blue. I don't know if you can see blue there. What number did you say?
14.
Okay, at 13, I'm at circle. I love circle. And I'm going to turn the page to, oh, wow, this is amazing. This reminds me of a story. Can you see that?
Focus.
Yes, that bullseye. That is wonderful. It reminds me of a story, and I'll close with this. 2 very successful guys were at a wedding. Very famous guys. And they said, listen, we'd like you to take out a piece of paper and write down one word that represents the key to your success. Both of you. So they didn't talk about it. They both wrote down a word. And then they turned the piece of paper over, and guess what the word was? The word was focus. And the 2 people were Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. That's how powerful focus is. So I want you to go to gregdwyer.com, ask me for the notes, and I want you to remember these 2 things. Number 1 is my name, Greg Dwyer. You see that? And the next thing I want you to remember is this. And that word is, can you see it? Focus. That word is focus. So thank you so much. Reach out to me at gregdwyer.com and have a great night.